Hello, all. This is a long one, so pardon me. Pardon my long-windedness, guys. I live in a 3-bedroom apartment in Chicago. Since the first day working from home became a common thing in the workforce, the girlfriend of one of my roommates has been staying with us basically 24/7. She works here every day, all day, out in the living room, and she's here all the time on weekends. She has even gone so far as to bring a landline phone from her work to our apartment to answer calls. While she posted up in the living room kitchen area, her boyfriend, aka my roommate, works from his desk in his room. This forces me to stay in my room all day as I'm on the phone constantly for work. She cooks all of her meals here, showers here, even gets her mail delivered here. She now lives here basically. I know our apartment is not as nice as or I know her apartment is not as nice as our apartment, and she doesn't know her roommates all that well. But is that an excuse to basically move into our apartment without any warning or my roommate asking? What's the move here? Do I just suck it up because COVID-19, or do I say something? Thanks, and stay safe.
Okay, first of all, bringing a landline phone from the office to your house, to someone else's house, is a very bold move. Secondly, I have logistical questions about how you actually pull something like that off. I mean, how many apartments modern day are wired for like a landline phone?
I think if you have a phone jack, you can get a phone number, right? So
okay, most places don't have phone jacks though.
Yeah, they do because of cable and stuff.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's true. So you can have a landline. Maybe my confusion is like, if you bring your landline phone, I think you have to call and get service set up. So like, is AT&T just popping by to like set up the service for you? Like,
yeah. And what you have, I guess you have phone calls from your office forwarded to the house, the one at your residence now?
I guess.
Again,
I do.
Logistically, this is a weird move.
Can you imagine sitting there just like trying to watch something on streaming, like just taking the afternoon off, and you just got your buddy's girlfriend answering landline phone calls in your living room?
No, I would absolutely speak up. I'd be like, look, you gotta get her out of here, man. She's got to go back to her place. This is not her office. Like I'm trying to, and being locked down, stuck in your place, it's tough, right? But if you like can't even enjoy your living room and your kitchen because someone who's not paying rent is occupying it pretty much throughout the day, that's unacceptable to me.
Do you think she should just huddle up in her boyfriend's bedroom and just work strictly from there?
Yes.
Yes. Look,
like,
if you're encroaching
in communal areas,
if you're encroaching as someone else's home, if you're squatting and spending a lot of time there or whatever, you need to go out of your way to not disrupt the roommates, everyone who's actually paying to live there. You can't disrupt their day-to-day routine. You have to just kind of be in the shadows a little bit and go with the flow and stay out of the way. You can't set up shop in the most, the busiest common areas. Absolutely not.
I have a feeling this is happening a lot more than I initially realized before this question. I think that I kind of took for granted when this all started that most of the people that I know at my age are either married or in a serious relationship with somebody that they live with or live alone. Like those are the groups of people that I know. Besides my little brother who lives with 3 other guys like in a house. And I know one of the guys' fiancés basically lives there now. And that was pre-quarantine. So I haven't talked to him about how this is all going. I think that they had already like worked out some stuff and they have a lot more room than like being in an apartment because they live in a house. But I think that this is happening a lot more than probably what like my day-to-day would realize, just because I don't think I'm in the age bracket really like where a lot of my friends have roommates and stuff. But that's going to be difficult because it's like, I think I'm thinking back now, like if 5 years ago, this would have happened, I had one roommate, I would obviously want to quarantine with Will. Like we're in a relationship. I would like to be in the same place and it would not make sense for us to keep going back and forth. But I think that that's totally something that you have to bring up with your roommate before you let your significant other do. Like, we've got this question before pre-quarantine. I mean, obviously now it's amplified because these people aren't leaving their house and they're all working from home. But we've gotten questions before where it's like my roommate's girlfriend basically moved in and like doesn't pay for shit. Like, what do we do? Like, I think everyone should try to be self-aware when they're doing this when they're in a relationship, but obviously not everyone is. And I think this guy is valid in saying like, we're all here, we're all working from home. Like, we need to make space for everyone to do what they're doing, and like, hopefully she's self-aware enough, which maybe she's not, to like be pitching in for groceries and like utilities and all those other things that you should be doing if you're.
She's not doing that. Just
I
to be
know.
clear,
I'm just
there's
saying
no way
that's
this
like
girl is doing that.
the decent thing to do. So if you're listening and you're quarantined with your significant other and they have roommates, like, do the right thing and like make them dinner and be a good house guest, because I'm sure that you are glad that you have them. Like, you can be with your significant other and you don't have to be with your roommates you don't know that well, but you need to be a valuable member of the quarantine house.
This is more on the roommate than it is the girl.
Oh, absolutely.
The roommate,
sure.
No question about it.
and from the perspective of somebody, like, this will ruin your relationship with your roommate. And so, like, he just needs to handle it. You got to figure it out, and you got to set some ground rules
he
and
just
do it.
probably needs to say something to the roommate. I'm just saying, I think that probably a lot of our listeners are in the same predicament, whether or not they're the roommate or the roommate's girlfriend or they're the person who wrote in. Like, I think that there are probably a lot of people in this. So honesty, always the best policy. You're completely valid in saying something to your roommate and saying like, hey, can she work in your room? Or like, can she pitch in for this? Because she's living there essentially, and probably will be for the next 4 weeks. So it's definitely worth having,
Yeah.
the roommate or the girlfriend contribute more.
Look, you got to talk to the roommate, obviously, but let's not act like this is an easy conversation to have. This is going to be very uncomfortable. I had a guy, one of my friends who, this is a while ago, he lived with me. He was a roommate, and he just did not clean up anything. Like, he was an absolute slob. And I actually owned the house, and so he was paying me rent. So it was obviously my responsibility to be like, all right, look. And it was one of the most difficult conversations I've ever had. I basically just told him that he needs to, start pulling his weight around the house. And like the week following that was pretty uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
you got to do it. But I mean, we can also acknowledge this is not an easy conversation to have with someone who's your buddy.
Right.
Yeah.
Ugh. Let us know how it goes.
Yeah.
It's not going to end well. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah. Let's do the next one, Will.